Wisp Sports Radio, the voice of women in sport.
Welcome to Season 1, Episode 8 of the WeCOACH Podcast on Wisp Sports.
That's just the way I roll. Oh, when the going gets tough, I just get most up. Oh, 'cause everything is not enough.
Every 2 weeks, we sit down with some of the best and brightest women coaches, leaders, and industry experts in the world of sports for fun and inspiring conversation. I'm your host, Megan Kahn, Executive Director of WeCOACH. This podcast is a co-production of WeCOACH and Wisp Sports. WeCOACH has become the premier nonprofit organization committed to recruiting, advancing, and retaining women coaches of all sports and levels. Through programming, resources, and an engaged community, we are changing the landscape for women coaches and the next generation of young women who dream of following in their footsteps. Today's guest knows all about hoisting trophies. Head coach Lonni Alameda has guided Florida State softball into the College World Series 3 times in the past 5 seasons, including last year's national championship. She has garnered 5 ACC Coach of the Year honors in the past 6 seasons and led the Noles to 6 straight ACC titles. No matter which sport you play or coach, I guarantee you'll love her. Let's get on to our conversation. Welcome, Coach. Thanks for being here on the WeCOACH Podcast.
Well, thank you very much. I'm really excited to finally make this happen, Megan.
All right, let's dive in. We have a lot to talk about. Take us back to Game 3 in the College World Series. What was running through your mind as you could sense you're on the cusp of winning the national championship?
Oh, my goodness. Championship Series, Game 2 against Washington that we're talking about. Yeah, I think, we talked about it a little bit the night before as a coaching staff, but we didn't want to hex it. Nobody wants to, right? So you just go out there and let's just play the game. But I don't know, about the 3rd inning, we could feel it as a coaching staff, even though we were down some runs and we looked like a little cluster in the 1st inning by dropping a ball and throwing a ball into right field. There was a quiet confidence with the team. And it was probably the coolest feeling to be around as a coach, to know that they didn't really need you at that point. And there was just this energy from all of our fans above us. Complete unity and energy in the dugout, and just this confidence that no matter what was going to happen, that they were going to get it done. And it was really, really the coolest feeling.
Is that something you work for, that quiet confidence? Is that when you sort of knew you had achieved what you set out to achieve?
I don't know if as a coach, I think it's like anything in life. You get somewhere, whether it's you're going to visit and see the Eiffel Tower and you don't know what it's going to feel like when you get there to see it, or the Mona Lisa, or if you see the coolest sunset you've ever seen, or, it's just, you don't know what those feelings or emotions are going to be like. And I think people talk about it, but everyone's experiences are different. And I don't know. You watch all games at the highest level, NFL, Major League Baseball. You watch how people react to them. You watch how teams come together. And I think there's numerous ways to win. And I just know as a coaching staff, we were extremely excited that the team actually came together as a unit, because that's what we talk about all the time is, that you're going to need your sisters to your left and your right, and you're going to rely on each other. And at certain times in the year, you're going to be called upon, and Elizabeth Mason was one of those people, and just all those things just started ticking the boxes. And it was just, I'd worked so hard. Travis Craig and I had worked so hard in our journey. So, me personally, and then we get together for 8 years now, and, you're in the ACC, and you start to see it all come to fruition. It was just a really, really amazing, amazing feeling.
And women, we always say this, don't celebrate enough. How have you celebrated since then? And then how have you allowed your team to celebrate?
Yeah. Well, I think that was one of our driving forces this year. In the year 2017, we had everything lined up for us. So we had an experienced group, an experienced pitching staff. We had a right schedule. We were in line. We're ranked number 1 for the first time in our history. Just so many things going for us in 2017 that, it was like checking the boxes, like, okay, we're going to the World Series. We're going to make a run. Do this, go to sleep 4:10, drink water, eat broccoli. I don't know, whatever it was. And the kids would do it and the team would do it. And we look back and, we lost to LSU here in super regionals and didn't make the World Series. And so then you sit there and you're like, oh my gosh, what did we forget to do? And literally was enjoying the moment, having fun. So the lesson from 2017 to 2018 was huge. So, as we go through 2018, we really enjoyed all the ups and downs, all the experiences. And then, of course, when you win the championship, you're going to enjoy that too. And, we definitely had a really good time. It's crazy in the game of baseball and softball is you're playing through graduation half the time. So when you come back to campus, school's already done, everybody's already gone. And so your kids, within a couple hours of getting back to campus, usually are getting in their cars and going home for their summer break. And so we didn't really get to see, we were celebrating for about, 3 hours as a team. The campus and community got together. It was awesome. And then that night, most of our kids left to go home to start whatever their internships or whatever the opportunities they had. And so it was quite unique in that sense that we'd see groups of them. The Atlanta Braves had us over for first pitch. We got to go down to Tampa Bay, Miami, so we get to see different pods of groups of kids that could come to those games and celebrate a little bit. Granted, they had some fun in their home communities too. As us as a coaching staff, we were able to go out to Wrigleyville and the Cubs and throw out a first pitch there, spent some time there. We as a staff went on a cruise to the Bahamas, so we spent a lot of time going around the state of Florida with the trophy and kind of did a little Stanley Cup tour, I guess, and enjoyed it. But when we got back here, we had a big celebration with all the team and all the alumni came back and at the Virginia Tech game, and it was really cool. So honestly, I would say it was like a 3-month celebration. I mean, it was a huge tour of, it was a first. It was a first in the ACC, first from Florida State. We've been knocking at the door many of years, and so it deserved to be celebrated. And, I think it's crazy when people just turn around and get on to the next year, but I guess everybody's different how they handle things. But the one thing we did have to do is, we had 7 new freshmen come into the program. And so, as we got into the month of September, we needed to really cut ties. The championship's a part of us. We are the reigning champions. That'll always be a part of us. We're never defending anything. They're not going to take that away from us. But we had to incorporate 7 new kids into Team 36 as we move on and move forward. So we took all the banners down. We took one day of practice and took all the banners down, took all the craziness down, and really symbolized and talked about, okay, now we're moving forward and we're talking about the next year's team. So yes, we did celebrate it, but we did have an actual moment where we went on to talk about the next year's team and the goals and missions, and maybe lessons that we learned to be able to incorporate this year's mission.
Yeah, you're weeks away from kicking off Team 36 season here this spring. So how exactly did you work on resetting those expectations as you went through fall ball?
I mean, like I said, taking down the banners every year, we symbolize something here. We have a gate sign that's made up by the seniors, and it, encompasses a lot of the journey and mission of the current team. And so we do that where we're in the fall, or, this year was a little bit into the fall, but the whole team goes down there and we actually, sit by the gate sign. We cut it down, the players cut it down, and we talk about, okay, like, it was amazing last year and all the lessons we learned, and we talk about those lessons. I mean, there's stories and stories to your program that you got to make sure that you revisit, and the history and the traditions of it. And then we put up a new sign that talks about the mission moving forward. So I think the very first team meeting, though, we got out a piece of paper and I had everyone just draw their own mountain, and we put little stick people on the top, and this is where we were. Then we drew another mountain and we put stick people on the bottom, and this is where we are. And we're visual, had some fun with it, but, here we are with everybody else on the bottom. And honestly, we moved our stick people all around. Like, some were way over here, some were kind of halfway up the mountain, some were over here. We have freshmen, we have some injured. We're not a group at the bottom of the mountain yet, and so we did that in October. And then, again, when we came back here in January and we did our running test, we were all in pretty good shape. We're all in a good spot. So we were all actually a little bit closer together at the bottom of the mountain, ready to climb this big journey. But, just symbolizing, here we are again, of little shy of 300 teams. We're all trying to climb that mountain again. And yes, we have a little experience about it, but we're back down in the dogfight and the grind of it. And it's going to be so much fun.
Now, do you try to play up the underdog? Like, do you try to go in that you got a target on your back?
We don't play it up. It's just, it is what it is. I think we're as a coaching staff, we're very real. in the sense of, okay, here's what we got, and I don't think we ever really try to play stuff up that may not be for motivation senses. And we have enough motivation as it is, I guess, being within a couple hours of a lot of the SEC, and we get to hear a lot of the SEC and SEC softball and all the things that, they've done, and they've been, amazing. And the ACC kind of gets to be the stepchild sometimes. But that's real, and we feel it, and it's real. It's a big part of us. And so, in the ACC, we've had a bullseye on our back for a while. And so we know what that feeling's like and that pressure's like to go in. And you could win a game 1-0 in the ACC, and people think it's a loss, and you feel like it's a loss because you have won so many series. And, eventually, hopefully, because you're carrying the flag for the ACC, that they're all out for you, that, you raise the bar for the Atlantic Coast Conference too, so there's this kind of interesting feel when we go into the ACC and the things we're trying to push there. And so we talk about it a ton, but what it comes down to is playing a good game of softball. So it doesn't really matter the outside factors or what people talk about, the things that we can't control. We can identify them and talk about them and know that when we're going to get asked these questions and people are going to try to get stories out of these kind of things. But and the reality is, can we play a good game of catch? Can we manage our game? And we always bring it back to that because it doesn't matter what state you come from, what conference. If you play a good game of softball, you're going to give yourself a chance.
And one of the things you're known for is making the game fun and having fun with your teams. Talk about that. How did that philosophy become a staple in your program?
Yeah, well, I think there's a couple things that have come from that. Is one, we in sport, not just softball, it's a lot of sports, but we're specializing at a young age. And so it's where it may be fun for a 10, 11, 12-year-old to jump in and just play one sport all the time. Eventually, it's going to get a little burnout like anything does. And I think we felt that hit when we get to college, as most kids feel like that was the pinnacle of why they got in to get a college scholarship. Then they get there and they realize there's so much more work and so much more involved in it when they get there. So, I feel like we got to bring the innocence and the fun back to it of why they got into it originally. And so that's kind of something that we jumped into a little bit in the beginning with a philosophy. But then, too, we're together 24/7. The kids work their tails off. If you think about the game of softball, it is 2 hours, but you actually get after softballing for maybe 15 minutes. So there's a lot of downtime, and, you have to manage that. And if you're thinking about you want to be focused for 2 hours for 70 games, I mean, it's tough for kids nowadays, for people, I don't care kids, people anyways, to be engaged that long and that energetic. So if you can be excited for the 15 minutes and completely passionate into it for what you need to do that 15 minutes, but then open it up a little bit and have some fun and relax and enjoy each other, it continues to get the ebb and flow of the season to be pretty even keel.
So how do you manage during your practices? How do you structure your practices so that you're keyed in and have those intense moments of focus, but then they can be loose in between?
I think in practice, there's different times. If we're doing like a pregame deal where we do like a sheet knock and we're just throwing it all around, I mean, obviously the level of intensity is going to go up because the coaching staff's going to be like, hey, what's going on? And then hopefully your seniors are like, hey, let's turn it back in. So, I think there's just different times. We're scrimmaging. Are we losing it? Are we able to maintain this energy and excitement for the game and just play a good game of catch and be sharp with it? Like, you just get that pulse. And you can see when, we always say when the circus tent is popping up, like it's beginning to look a lot like a circus out here right now. Why is that? Are you not focused? Are we tired? Like we bring them in and we address it so they can realize when things are starting to really go south, how they can bring it back in. And, we all have been around those people that get too giddy and they can't focus. Like every player, can a player be kind of silly but still play the game? Or some players can't get to that silliness yet because they're still trying to figure out how to play the game. Everyone's going to be a little bit different. So I think it's more of a maintenance thing and a management thing. But again, we go back to, I just really want to make each individual player aware of who they are and where they're at. So they know that, their journey is going to be a little bit different with the full team and how to get to what they need to give the best to us. So I guess it's a pulse thing a little bit. But, some days I'll turn on the music and we'll just go out there and play. Some days I don't do music at all. I think it's great sometimes to have no extra energy out there and you have to create your own energy. And as much as they want music or want some things and some fun, well, that's great. But you have to create that sometimes yourself, and how you talk to each other, and, who could be the fun one. So sometimes at the start of practice, we'll play charades, or, we'll sing, or we'll kind of set the tone of just enjoy it. We're going to be out here for a couple hours. And so all kinds of different ways.
Speaking of fun, as a softball fan, one of my favorite things to watch on TV or when I'm at a game is your dugout rallies and choreography. Are you in on that?
The funny thing is, in 2014, no, I'm not right now, but in 2014, that was definitely something that we talked about. So we went to the World Series for the first time in 2014, and kind of like the Chicago Cubs, we had the dance bullpen. We had a lot of things going on, and one, to introduce the mindset of fun. You got to have fun at what you're doing. So we're introducing that, still being invested, can still do chants and cheers for the team, but not cheering. Things are about the team and about the game. So we tried to get into the mindset, like whatever you're doing on the side, it's relational to what's happening on the field. It's just not random, just cheering. And so then I think it was 2016, ESPN was like, oh, we don't want any of these antics behind the coaches, so we're going to get rid of it. So all the coaches are getting interviewed on the side with the walls behind them, or not the team behind them. And so it was kind of funny to get there last year, and all of a sudden Holly Rose like, hey, can you move over because they want to see the crew behind you. And I had no idea what they were doing, but obviously pretty engaging, later kind of watching it, and pretty engaging. And they came up with whatever they were doing on their own. Again, they were all into it. And I think it was all in good fun too. It was nothing too crazy, but it's crazy how that kind of changed, from just media in general to not thinking it's a mockery of the game, but it's a part of the game. And it was definitely something quite interesting for a lot of fans when I got emails and stuff about just how they felt like the kids were so engaged. Yet they were just having fun. They were literally just having fun. It was awesome.
Yeah, and I think even for the young ones out there watching, what a great thing for them to see on TV and eventually aspire to be in those shoes. So I know I personally love it, and I'm glad to see ESPN full 360 on.
Inside stories, interviews, and cutting-edge tips from the leading coach in ice hockey. Tune in to Hockey Talk with Shannon Miller. This is Wisp Sports.
So I'm transitioning here a little bit. What has made you so successful, do you think?
I think that the consistency of the coaching staff and the staff in general is just a big, big part of it. And I'm so lucky to be around very driven people, and people that are a lot like me, but yet also very different. I really embrace different things in, practice planning or staff meetings, or just, approach to how we do things in the program from everybody that's around us. And I think that gives a lot of people a sense of ownership. So the number one thing would be, consistency. I got my same athletic trainer, strength coach, is new a couple years, but she's been underneath the wing of someone that was with me for 7 years. Travis Craig and I have been together for 8 seasons. Our director of ops has been here for 9 years. It's just, there's very good consistency, and they're high level people. Our equipment person, played here, so she completely knows what it's like, and she played under me, and now she's here. It's just really cool to know that when you turn around, every single person has vested interest and they care. So when you call a family atmosphere, it's literally family, because everyone's been here for 7, 8, 9 years. So that part's cool. I think the other part of it is I just want to grow the game. And by that, I've got to continue to keep learning. And I challenge myself all the time to see, am I doing the right things in pitching? Am I doing the right things in coaching? I made the change from going to the third base box to the dugout. I try not to stay in the same mold all the time. We try to do different things, try to meet the kids where they are. Something I always say to our first staff meeting is, we're a year older and wiser. And we always think we're wiser, right, as we get older. And they're the same age coming in. They're always the same age. We signed up to be a part of kids that are 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, right? That same age. it's the same problems. I don't care, from the dawn of time, you get to this age, everyone's coming in trying to figure out who they are and what they're going to do in life. And we're a part of that. So as long as we remind ourselves that we got to meet the kids where they are, meet them what they're going through, and make sure that we can continue to support and love them, so that really helps. So I think that growth mindset has just been a huge success here.
Yeah, I love that growth mindset. So can you give us some specific examples of how you continually keep learning?
We have a big winter camp that we created, and I started it when I was coaching at Stafford, my first years there. And part of it was, camps are always a big time to bring coaches around, but I enjoyed being around coaches that were actually troubleshooting and working with kids. So coaches' clinics were great for me. It's nice to sit there and talk about a philosophy, but actually when you start to work in camps and you start to do things, like, the philosophy has to be put to the test. So how do you handle chaos? How do you handle scheduling? How do you handle kids? How do you handle teaching pitching? So I wanted to bring people in and see them get after it and get to work. And that started many, many years ago. And it's kind of morphed into this huge winter camp deal, but it's a 3-day, 4-day, pretty much hands-on convention of softball. And I just invite people in that I think are just amazing at the game, at what they do, and pick their brains and be a part of it. But now it's kind of turned into, they come in and, they come in and see our team and see how our team works. And I always want our players. I'm like, hey, I'm going to bring these great pitching people in. You pitchers, talk to them. Is there something I do different? Is there something you like? Is there something, and just a really good 3-4 days of self-reflection, and communication. And then we as a coaching staff try to go out a ton. I would say 2-3 times a year, we try to get to different environments. So like this last year, we went to Jimmy John's. And we went to their headquarters, and how do they run things and how do they do things? Because we are essentially running a business. It's a people business, but we're trying to get a product out there that's successful at a high level. And so it was the same with sandwiches at Jimmy John's, or, when we were able to go visit a little bit with the Cubs, or just do some things that people in different worlds, even though we're all trying to get the same outcome. And when you get that opportunity to go in there and kind of see and hear and what's their mission statement, how they follow up with it, what are core values, all of a sudden you're like, oh, a lot of us are the same, and this is why they're successful. Maybe we could integrate this. And it's just a cool learning experience for the three of us to go and be a part of.
Yeah, that is awesome. And I know the three of you, congrats, because you were recently named the National Coaching Staff of the Year at the NFCA convention this past fall.
Yeah. And everybody knows it takes a village, and everybody writes it and talks it and all that stuff. But, as you know, Megan, it is a village. And, I'm so grateful for them and for them wanting to stay and be a part of this. And, it's just so much fun to continue to see the growth, the building blocks of every year. So it was pretty awesome to be honored.
The passion you have is certainly evident. I know you eat, breathe, and sleep softball. What is the most important leadership lesson you think you've learned, either visiting these other companies or elite organizations, or else something that you went through in your career?
I think as a younger coach, you always feel like the grass is greener, and that there's bigger things out there. And in reality, you make the big things. As you start to get to higher milestones, or getting around people, and maybe sometimes you get to someone that you think is the guru of whatever you're in or wherever you're at, and they're really not who they were, you thought they were. It happens. Your bubble bursts maybe a little bit sometimes. And but the reality is, you look back, you're like, man, you're the one that makes the things amazing. You're the one that makes the grass greener. You're the one that, and a lot of it comes back to you and your vision. And I think if you put your head down and you work, and you're trying to attain something, and you forget to enjoy the journey along the way, and the highs and lows, like when you get there, it's really not what you thought it was going to be. And I've been so fortunate to be around such amazing people, and have enjoyed every season. And it's funny, we won the national championship last year, but the year before and the year before that, in 2014, I enjoyed all those seasons and all those kids and all those milestones, and been part of some huge epic ball games that I will have forever, and so will the kids in their minds. And I think that's such a great lesson I learned in the leadership part of it is, be where your feet are and completely enjoy where you're at. And in today's day and age, you can look and see what everybody has. You can drive down the block and see these huge houses, but, is it loving inside and do they enjoy where they're at? And I think that's the biggest question that I continue to ask myself in days of frustration, like truly love the kids in the program. And that's really what brings me back all the time. And I'm so glad I learned that early on because I think, in today's world, you can get very frustrated very quickly of the things you do not have. And but in the reality, the things you do have are so amazing, and you were part of building that.
Such a great reminder, and probably why I know, and I've heard you say this before, the word opportunity resonates so strongly with you. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so I've always enjoyed the word opportunity. I think that we throw words around a lot of times, but if you actually really thought about the word and what it means, and I know that's kind of nerdville a little bit, but last year, after 2017, we get to last year's season in 2018, and one of the things we talked about is, the hashtag part. And every year our hashtags have been a real reflection of where we're at and kind of a goal of where we want to be. So, we didn't come in here and say we wanted to be a World Series team. We came in here and said, okay, we want to be playing into May. Like if you're playing into May, you're in postseason. And so anyways, we wanted to be the last team standing in 2017 and everything was in line, but didn't happen. So last year we got to the point of like, let's put in these huge goals and let's just, I don't know. IDK was kind of our thing. Like, I don't know. Let's just go enjoy the moments, go enjoy what happens. Like, let's just let the season play out. And then the other hashtag was opportunity. And, the girls ended up making some shirts and everything was about opportunity. And we wrote it on our strength shirts. And, we just reminded ourselves every day that you have an opportunity today to make an impact on somebody else, and make an impact on you, make an impact on the game. Don't look too far forward, but really appreciate this part right now. And, we really talked about the unity part in opportunity. There's this unit that's going to be going out, but, we've got to have unity with the opportunities that we get. And that was kind of something that just really stuck with the team, and every time something came up, and I know Elizabeth Mason quite a few times was like, hey, look at this opportunity we have. And it just really brings you back to right where you're at. You have this opportunity right here. Not going to be here tomorrow. It wasn't here yesterday. We have it right now. We either created it as a team or as individuals. What are we going to do with it? And is this moment right now going to make us better? And you can fail at it or you can succeed at it, but you still can get better by it. And, whether you could go speaking in public, a lot of kids don't like public speaking, and there was many opportunities to go do that, get outside your comfort zone, a chance to get after some conditioning, a chance to, help another team and support them, whatever it was, it was an opportunity, and it was really something that we focused in on. And I try to, think about that a lot of times too. And I was imagine anyone that listens to this, as you go through your daily routine and you start to really pay attention to where you are, that there's so many opportunities to, hey, go to a coffee shop and tell someone to have a great day. You just don't know what those words can do for somebody. Just a smile, just a recognition, there's so many opportunities that are presented to ourselves that sometimes you just get in that rut and that mundane and you miss them. And, we just really try to engage in them.
You absolutely just blew my mind with the unity in opportunity. I've never realized that my whole life. So I'm sticking that nugget in my back pocket forever. I'm stealing it from you. Don't worry, I'll give you the credit.
It is no stealing. You don't have to give me credit. It's all yours.
Okay, you talked about the family surrounding your program there at Florida State. I've also heard you say you do a deep reflection after each season on everyone associated with the program. So talk about what that's like. And then certainly there haven't been a lot of changes made if you've had that many stay. So what is that like for you?
Well, I think that we always do debrief meetings with the players, whether it's end of season meetings, with the seniors kind of get their thing, or just do some debriefing meetings with some returners that this is where we're at, this is what we need to work on, this is where we need to go. But we also do it with our staff. So I meet with sports information, training rooms, strength coaches, all them. So I'll meet with the players first, and then I'll ask the players about every department, everyone that works with us. And then I gain that information, and then I debrief with each staff member that's a part of our program. And, the only way you're going to get better is to kind of see what was good, what needed some work, maybe what wasn't so good, or if there was any, problems. And I think at the end of the season or the end of a long run of something that you're doing, you're going to have some issues. And, if we break for summer and leave, those things, if you don't address them at that point, they go away and people tend to just say, oh, it wasn't that big of a deal. Not, we'll attack it again later. So I want to head on, how was our sports information department? How was our fan day experience? How was the equipment room? Talk to me about all these things. And then, talk to the equipment person. How were we with you this year as a team? How were we, what, and just really like get into the nitty gritty of it. And does it take time? Yes. Does it become kind of a quote unquote bitch fest? Maybe at times, yes, but everybody has it. That's life. And, sometimes you just got to hear it out. Sometimes there's serious issues you need to address. And sometimes there's some things you can't do anything about it. Sometimes they're out of your control. So, I think that you kind of look at all those things, and then we as a coaching staff sit down and we talk about the whole area and the culture and the atmosphere of our program. What do we want to change as we go into next year? Sometimes you go into the next season, you're going to have a veteran team or you're going to have a rookie team. You try to get a plan for it, and then you really try to address it. So I think self-reflection in that sense, how am I handling everyone? I am the head coach. I'm responsible for everything. Travis, Craig, and I do a lot of things together. Assistant coaches and coaches do a lot of things together. But in end, I've got to make sure that as I'm managing the team and managing people, that, everyone has a say and are accountable to everything that's going on. And so that's kind of how we do it. It takes a couple of weeks, and and I always meet with the people, their bosses. So if I was in an equipment room, I meet with the head equipment person. If I go to my athletic trainer, I meet with a head trainer, just to get a healthy conversation going with everyone that's a part of it. And if you think about it in the sports world, every single person at a university is here because of student athletes. Well, not, in an athletic department, not a university, in an athletic department is here because of student athlete. So sometimes we miss that connection because we get so busy in our world that everyone's doing their job, which is about the student athlete, but we got to connect it and take it right back to the student athlete experience and then pull it right back up the chain of what we're feeling in order to keep that cohesive unit moving forward.
Absolutely. It's all about the student athlete. And I love hearing you talk about those authentic conversations. And certainly it has served your program well over the years. So what keeps you awake at night?
What keeps me awake at night? Just busy work. Nothing keeps me awake. I will conk out in a minute, that's for sure. But I'm definitely a late night worker. I like to get after it late at night, and I do, lots of video. I'm a big video person. I love learning the game and challenging myself. So that's what I'm up late at night for. So I'm not a toss and turner at night. I give my all during the day, and if it's not working out, it's not working out, but it's not because I didn't try my best. And I think that's the same message that, I try to send to the team all the time too. There's going to be days that you leave in sport that aren't the best results, but they can always be your best effort. And I think that's the message. So, yeah, so I'm pretty lucky in that sense.
You are lucky. I think you probably just made a lot of people very envious in this profession. When you think back at your career, or even your seasons or upcoming season, what would you identify as the most challenging part of your job?
Probably managing people. Probably goes back to sometimes what your strengths are or your weaknesses too, right? So I say a strength of mine is loyalty, but sometimes that can be a weakness also because, I'll give second, third, fourth, fifth chances on things. So what, really makes us great sometimes is tough. And, when you're around a lot of people that have been here a long time, you can get people that get kind of in that mundane rut, or, how do I re-energize, someone that's been around a long time. So my ability to manage people, create excitement, push. So not only am I trying to push every player on the field, I'm trying to push everybody else that's around the program to make sure that we continue to get better models and better things. And so sometimes that might be my bigger stressor, in the sense of that, but that's not a huge stressor. That's just part of the job. And, I'm high-fiving everyone that's around us, whether it's marketing, whoever, just as much as I'm high-fiving the kid that moved a runner or hit a home run. We're all here for the reasons. And so we're all going to go through the grind of it and the downs and the ups. And but that might be the one that pulls me away.
I know you and I have talked about this before, particularly in softball. You're one of the ones setting precedent and paving the way for new territory for other women to follow in your footsteps. Do you consciously think about that? Does that drive some of your decisions?
It didn't in the beginning, and I think I'm realizing it a little bit later now that, as of lately, with the championship, I got a lot of females come up to me and, thanks for being that role model. Thanks for the person. I want to emulate things like you. And I never set out to do that. I was never, even in the beginning of my career, I was never driven to on the female side of it, and maybe didn't really understand it too much either. And having attended the conference with you all, I was educated a little bit about Title IX. You hear Title IX, but to actually get into the 2-hour segment that we talked about up there in Denver was pretty awesome. But I still just believe in the best for the game. If it's man or woman or, it's just, to me, there's a game that's got to be played at a high level, and we got to continue to keep researching it. And so I get that we don't have a lot of opportunities, but then I also get that it's my job to educate the younger ones that are going to be in my seat somewhere down the line, the best the game has to give. And however I did that, whether it was hanging out with baseball, whether it's hanging out with men's fast pitch, whether it's hanging out with women, whether it's hanging out with ADs, it didn't matter. I was trying to educate myself and try to make myself better. So as I get older, I can give to the younger generations of females that can eventually take on. And I never set out to do that. I just wanted to be the best I could be and give. And so, but in end, it's turned out that it's kind of been like that, which has been awesome. But it wasn't the driving force. The driving force was to be the best version of myself and the best softball coach I could be for the younger ones.
Absolutely. So we end every episode with rapid fire. I'm going to toss out some quick hitters to you, and you'll come back to me with what's the first thing that comes to mind. Will we see more $1 million contracts for women coaches in softball?
I'm going to say yes. I think it's a tough one, but now that we have TV going, so I think that's going to help. Yes.
Who has had the biggest influence on your career?
Well, my parents. Easy enough to my parents. They just, it's not softball, but it's just being good people, and they're pretty amazing, and they've guided the way for me at a young age to do that. Pretty awesome.
What's your go-to karaoke song?
Oh gosh. Whatever's playing. I don't know. I'm not a karaoke girl. Sad to say, huh? Probably something Fleetwood Mac. Anything Fleetwood Mac.
Good answer. What are your game day rituals?
Coffee in the morning, but that's my everyday ritual. So I keep it very routine. It's funny. I have my same clipboard. So that's the one thing, but I always have my same clipboard all season long.
Ooh, and do you change it from season to season?
Yes. Yeah. I retire my clipboards. Yes.
So is there something you do as a coach that might surprise people?
I know these are supposed to be quick hitters, Megan, and I'm thinking, I don't know. I mean, it probably surprises people that I am here probably midnight to 2 a.m. Like, I am a worker, I'm a grinder, and I think that people are surprised that a head coach would be doing that at times. But I love it so much, and I love being around it that I put my time in doing video. I do my own scouting. I do all that. And today's day and age where you have a lot of maybe assistant coaches doing that kind of stuff, but I feel most confident, most prepared by me doing the work myself.
Knowing you, I think that's a fantastic answer. Last question, and I've seen it. So let's be honest. How often do you wear that championship ring?
No, yeah. Well, here we go. I wear our everyday ring every day because I love it so much. But I didn't think in that championship ring, I was going to bring it out a lot. And actually, so many people really enjoy seeing it. And I've realized over time, it is a celebration of softball. It's not just about Florida State. And I didn't really want to be in people's faces too much. But it's a beautiful ring. It came out to be, really beautiful. As you know, you've seen it. And I think it represents the game and the growth of the game. And so it's been a lot more fun to bring it around, a lot more events than I thought I would definitely do with it when we were designing it.
It is a gorgeous ring. Congratulations. Thank you so much for being here, and I wish you and Team 36 much success this spring.
We will take it. We're going to take every ounce of good luck to us this year. It's going to be a lot of fun, so I appreciate it. Meg, thanks for everything you do, too. You're pretty amazing.
Thanks for your support.
Conversations from the world of women's sports. This is Wisp Sports Radio.
Thanks for listening to today's show with Coach Lonni Alameda. We would love to hear from you. Please follow us and share your comments on Twitter at WeCOACH and at Wisp Sports, or on Facebook at WeCOACH Sports or at Wisp Sports. The show notes for today's episode can be found on our show page at wispsports.com. Make sure to subscribe to Wisp Sports on your podcast player to catch each new episode, dropping every other Thursday. Until next time, all sports, one voice, WeCOACH.